The tow truck had already hooked his pickup by the time Daniel Mercer came running out of the glass building. "Wait, please, wait," he shouted, one hand holding a paper folder, the other gripping the strap of his daughter's school bag, but the driver only looked at him with tired eyes and said, "Sir, I'm just following instructions." Daniel stopped in the middle of the parking lot, breathing hard, feeling like the whole world had decided to humiliate him before lunch, and standing near the entrance, in a clean white suit and heels that clicked against the pavement, was the woman who had made the call. She was the CEO, and she had no idea that within the next 30 minutes, her own board of directors would be begging the same man to stay. Daniel Mercer was 38 years old, a widower, and the father of 2 children who were the center of his entire life. His son Noah was 11, quiet, observant, the kind of boy who noticed when his father skipped dinner and pretended not to. His daughter Ellie was 7, bright, talkative, and still young enough to believe her dad could fix anything. But Daniel knew the truth. Some things couldn't be fixed with hard work alone. He had lost his wife, Sarah, 3 years earlier after a sudden illness. Since then, life had become a careful balancing act between raising the kids, paying bills, and keeping his small repair business alive. Daniel repaired refrigeration units, generators, kitchen equipment, anything mechanical that small businesses needed. He wasn't rich. In fact, most months were a struggle, but he had honesty, skill, and the habit of showing up when people needed him. That morning had already gone wrong before the tow truck arrived. Ellie had woken up with a mild fever. Noah had forgotten his science project at home. Daniel had burned the toast while answering a call from the school nurse about a permission slip he had forgotten to sign. On top of that, one of his biggest clients had delayed payment again, and his rent was due in 2 days. Still, he had one important thing going for him, a meeting with a corporate office downtown. A large company called Halston Foods had been having repeated cold storage failures at one of their distribution sites. Daniel had been recommended by the retired facilities director, Mr. Lewis, who trusted Daniel's work. This could be steady work, Mr. Lewis had told him on the phone. Enough to put some breathing room back in your life. That was all Daniel wanted, breathing room. He dropped Noah and Ellie at school, promising Ellie he would bring soup home if she still felt sick later. Then he drove downtown in his old blue pickup truck, the one Sarah used to tease him about because it rattled every time it started. When he reached Halston Foods headquarters, the visitor garage entrance was blocked by orange cones because of some maintenance work. A security guard directed him toward a side lot that looked half full. "Temporary parking over there," the guard said quickly. "If you're here for facilities, check in at the main desk." Daniel parked where he was pointed, grabbed his folder of notes and service references, and hurried inside. The lobby looked like another world. Marble floors, high glass walls, people walking fast with tablets and coffee cups. Everyone looked polished, expensive, and certain of where they belonged. Daniel suddenly became aware of the oil stain on his cuff and the small crack in one boot sole at the reception desk. A woman smiled professionally. "Named Daniel Mercer. I'm here to meet Mr. Adrian Cole from facilities." She checked her screen. "Please take a seat. They'll call you shortly." Daniel sat down, trying to quiet his nerves. He thought about Noah's school project, Ellie's fever, the rent, the unpaid electric bill folded in his glove compartment. Then he looked up and saw a woman striding across the lobby with 2 assistants following behind her. She was probably in her early 40s, composed and sharp, with the kind of presence that made the room adjust around her. Her face was calm, but her eyes were alert, almost guarded. "Miss Bennett," the receptionist said softly under her breath. So this was Victoria Bennett, the CEO. Daniel had heard the name before. Everyone in the city had. She had taken over Halston Foods after her father's death and turned the company around. People called her brilliant, demanding, impossible to fool. As she passed, her eyes briefly landed on Daniel. Just a second. A man in work clothes sitting in a sleek lobby with a worn folder on his lap. She kept walking. 10 minutes later, Daniel's phone rang. It was the school nurse. "Mr. Mercer, Ellie's fever has gone up. We think you should pick her up." Daniel closed his eyes for 1 second. "I'm in a meeting downtown. Can you give me a little time? I'll come as soon as I can. Please don't be too long." He hung up, heart pounding, harder now. Just then, a man in a gray blazer came over. "Mr. Mercer, sorry, there's been a delay upstairs. Mr. Cole asked if you could wait another 15 minutes. Daniel forced a smile. "I can wait." But the next problem came before those 15 minutes were over. A security supervisor walked into the lobby and asked, "Whose blue pickup is in the executive side lot?" Daniel stood. "Mine. The guard outside told me to park there." The supervisor's jaw tightened. "That area is restricted." Before Daniel could answer, Victoria Bennett turned around from halfway to the elevator. "What's the issue?" she asked. The supervisor pointed toward Daniel. "Unauthorized vehicle in the executive lot." Victoria looked at Daniel, then at his clothes, then at the supervisor. "We can't keep making exceptions," she said coldly. "To have it towed." Daniel stared at her, stunned. "Ma'am, please, I was told to park there. I'm here for a meeting with facilities. My daughter's sick at school. I just need—" "I'm sorry," Victoria interrupted, though there was no warmth in her voice. "Rules apply to everyone." Then she turned and walked away. Daniel stood frozen as if she had slapped him. By the time he reached the parking lot, the tow truck had already arrived, and that was the moment everything began to change. Daniel tried to explain it again. The guard told me to park there. I'm not refusing to move it. Just let me get the truck and go. The tow driver shrugged helplessly. Dispatch got the order. Once it's logged, I can't undo it unless building management clears it. Daniel looked back toward the towering office building. Through the glass, people moved calmly as if nothing had happened. As if a man's whole day on, maybe his whole week had, not just been wrecked for no reason. That his old truck wasn't just transportation. It was his work. His toolboxes were in the back. His service parts were inside. Without it, he couldn't pick up Ellie. He couldn't finish jobs. He couldn't earn money. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Noah. Dad. Daniel immediately softened his voice. Hey buddy, the nurse called me out of class. Ellie's crying. She says she wants you. Daniel swallowed hard. I'm coming. He looked at the tow driver. Please, I have kids. The man hesitated. Try the lobby desk. If someone important calls down fast enough, maybe. Daniel ran back inside, anger and panic rising together. At the front desk, he explained everything, trying to stay calm. The receptionist looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, sir. That order came directly from the executive office. Then call them. Sir, I can leave a message. A message. Daniel repeated, stunned. My daughter is sick. People in the lobby had started glancing over. Daniel hated scenes. Sarah used to say he carried dignity like a shield, even when life gave him every reason to break. But at that moment, the shield was cracking. Please, he said more quietly. I just need someone to listen. A man standing near the elevators turned around. He was older, maybe late 60s, with silver hair and a plain navy tie. He had been watching longer than Daniel realized. Mr. Mercer? The man asked. Daniel blinked. Yes. The man stepped closer. Did you say Mercer? Yes. The man studied him carefully. Then his expression changed. You're Daniel Mercer, from Mercer Mechanical. Daniel nodded, confused. The man turned to the receptionist. Get facilities now, and call upstairs. The receptionist straightened immediately. Yes, Mr. Holloway. Daniel looked from one face to the other. I'm sorry. I'm Charles Holloway, the man said. Board chair. Daniel had no idea what to say. Charles continued. 3 months ago, one of our largest frozen distribution centers nearly lost an entire inventory load after a major compressor control failure. Our internal teams couldn't stabilize it. Adrian Cole told me a contractor named Daniel Mercer walked in, found the actual fault in 20 minutes, and saved us from a loss of nearly $2 million. Daniel remembered the job. It had been an emergency call through Mr. Lewis. He had repaired the issue, filed a temporary stabilization report, and recommended a permanent systems redesign. Then no one had followed up. That was just work. Daniel said quietly. Charles gave him a look that was part respect, part disbelief. No, son, that was not just work. Your report is what our board has been discussing all morning. Daniel frowned. My report. Charles nodded. The redesign proposal you submitted through Mr. Lewis. It explains why our failures keep happening and how to fix them. Adrian pushed it aside because he thought bringing in a small outside operator would look weak. Then this week we had another incident. We finally reviewed your recommendations. Daniel's confusion deepened. Charles lowered his voice. We were actually meeting today to discuss finding you. At that exact moment, 2 more executives rushed into the lobby. One of them was Adrian Cole, pale-faced and out of breath. Mr. Mercer, Adrian said, I've been trying to reach the front desk. We need to speak with you immediately. Daniel stared at him. My truck is being towed. Adrian looked horrified. What? Before he could answer, the elevator doors opened, and Victoria Bennett stepped out, clearly annoyed at being called back down. What is so urgent? She asked. Then she saw Charles, Adrian, the receptionist, Daniel, and the tension in the room. Charles turned to her. Victoria, this is Daniel Mercer. She gave a short nod. Yes, the man parked in the executive lot. Charles's face hardened. He is also the man whose systems report may save this company millions. The board has been asking facilities all morning why he wasn't already under contract for the first time. Victoria's composure slipped. She looked at Daniel more carefully now, as if seeing him for the first time, not as a problem, as a person. Adrian spoke quickly. His recommendations addressed the root failure in the refrigeration network. We reviewed them in the meeting. They're solid. Very solid. Victoria turned back to Daniel. You wrote the full redesign proposal yourself. Daniel's patience was gone. Yes, and right now my daughter is sick at school and my truck is on a tow line because no one here would listen. The silence that followed was heavy. Charles spoke to security. Stop the tow immediately. The supervisor nearly ran. Victoria took one breath, then another. She was clearly used to controlling situations, but now control had shifted away from her. Mr. Mercer, she said, her voice quieter. I owe you an apology. Daniel didn't answer, because suddenly, the apology wasn't the thing hurting him most. It was exhaustion. The kind that had built for years. The kind that came from losing his wife, raising 2 children alone, being dismissed in rooms where money spoke louder than decency, and still trying to remain kind. He pressed his lips together and said, My little girl is waiting for me. Charles asked gently. Can we send a car for her, or help in some way? Daniel shook his head. No, she wants her dad. Victoria's eyes changed at that. Something unguarded passed through them, small but real. Then let us at least fix what we caused, she said. But Daniel was no longer thinking about contracts or board meetings. He was thinking about Ellie sitting on a nurse's cot, flushed and frightened, looking toward the door each time it opened. And somehow, in the middle of a polished lobby full of powerful people, that image broke him. He lowered his head, and for one painful second, he could not hide how close he was to falling apart. I'm trying, he whispered, almost to himself. I'm really trying. That was the most emotional moment of all. Not the towing, not the argument, not even the apology. It was the quiet confession of a father who had carried too much for too long, and everyone in that lobby heard it. The board meeting was postponed. The tow truck released Daniel's pickup, and 20 minutes later, Victoria Bennett was standing outside a small neighborhood school, holding a paper bag from a pharmacy while Daniel carried Ellie to the truck. Ellie had strep throat. The nurse had given Daniel instructions, and Victoria, without asking permission, but without intruding either, had quietly gone to buy the prescribed medicine from the pharmacy across the street because Daniel's insurance card had first declined and then gone through only after a long delay. Daniel noticed the bag in her hand. You didn't have to do that. Victoria looked at Ellie, then back at him. I know, was the first honest thing she had said all day. Ellie rested her head on Daniel's shoulder. Noah climbed into the back seat after school pickup, watching the elegant woman beside their father with open curiosity. Dad, Noah said softly, is she your boss? For the first time that day, Daniel almost smiled. No, buddy, definitely not. Victoria surprised herself by smiling too. She stepped back. You should get them home. Daniel nodded. I should. He opened the truck door, then paused. Why are you here, really? She didn't answer immediately. Because I made a decision too quickly. I judged you by a parking mistake, your truck, and your clothes. And because of that, I forgot the easiest rule in leadership. What rule is that? That people deserve to be heard before they are handled. Daniel looked at her for a long moment. She wasn't speaking like a CEO now. She sounded like a woman ashamed of herself. He got the kids settled in and drove home. Their apartment was small but warm. Noah made toast while Daniel gave Ellie medicine and tucked her into bed on the couch with a blanket. By evening, the fever had eased a little. After the children ate, Noah asked, Did you lose the job? Daniel sat at the kitchen table, tired beyond words. I don't know if it was ever really a job. Ellie looked up sleepily. But you fixed things, Daddy. You always fix things. Daniel looked at her and felt his chest tightened. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, there was a knock on the apartment door. Daniel opened it and found Charles Holloway and Victoria Bennett standing in the hallway. Charles held a simple bakery box. Peace offering, he said. Apple pie. My wife says no serious conversation should begin without dessert. Daniel almost laughed, despite himself. It's late. Victoria nodded. We won't stay long. He let them in. The living room was clean but modest. A second-hand bookshelf. Children's drawings on the wall. A stack of bills tucked under a fruit bowl. Victoria noticed all of it, and Daniel could tell she did. That Charles got straight to the point. The board wants to hire you as an independent consultant to lead the refrigeration system's transition across all regional facilities, he said. Not as a favor, because you earned it. Daniel sat down slowly. Charles continued. The contract includes enough upfront payment to stabilize your business immediately, full engineering support, flexible scheduling, and if you agree, we want to discuss expanding your role over time. Daniel looked stunned. Why me? You have bigger firms. Victoria answered this time. Bigger firms gave us bigger presentations. You gave us the truth. That landed deeply. Daniel rubbed his hands together. I can't be trapped in endless travel. I've got children. Victoria nodded. Then we build around that. Charles added, a local office schedule, remote review where possible. We can work that out. Daniel looked from one to the other. And why should I trust you after today? Victoria accepted the question without defense. You shouldn't, she said. Not immediately. Trust should be rebuilt, not requested. The room went quiet. Then Daniel asked, why does this feel personal to you? Victoria hesitated, then answered honestly, because my father built this company from nothing. After he died, I promised myself I would never let emotion interfere with discipline. Somewhere along the way, discipline became distance. Efficiency became coldness. Today, when you said your daughter needed you, I remembered what this place was supposed to be for. People, families, real lives. Daniel believed her because she did, not try to sound perfect. He looked toward the hallway where his children slept. Then he thought of Sarah, what she would say, probably this. Don't let pride close a door that God may have opened, but don't walk through it unless your heart stays intact. Daniel took a slow breath. If I do this, there are conditions. Victoria straightened. Name them. 1. Daniel said, I keep my own business name. 2. I pick my working hours around my children when possible. 3. Nobody in your company treats small contractors like they matter less. Not the cleaning stuff. Not the maintenance crews, not the delivery drivers. Nobody, Victoria answered immediately. Agreed, Charles smiled. I was hoping you'd say something like that. Over the next few months, Daniel's life changed, but not in some unrealistic magical way. He was still busy, still tired, still learning how to balance fatherhood in a larger role than he had ever imagined. But now the bills were paid on time. Noah joined the school robotics club because Daniel could finally afford the fee. Ellie got the pink bicycle she had been drawing in the margins of her homework for 6 months. Daniel hired one assistant for Mercer Mechanical and slowly built a more secure future. And Victoria changed to. She started visiting the facilities in person instead of reading summaries alone. She introduced a policy review for how front desk staff, security, and contractors were handled. She even called the guard who had misdirected Daniel, not to punish him harshly, but to retrain the whole process properly. One Saturday afternoon, months later, Victoria visited Daniel's community center fundraiser after quietly sponsoring the refrigeration upgrade for their food pantry. She arrived in simple clothes, with no assistants and no press. Ellie ran up to Daniel and whispered loudly, "Dad, the nice boss lady came." Victoria laughed. Noah offered her a paper plate with brownies. And for the first time, Daniel saw her not as the woman from the lobby, but as someone trying, in her own imperfect way, to become better. As the event ended, Victoria stood beside him watching the children play. "You were right," she said. "About what? About people, about respect, about how quickly damage can be done when you forget someone's humanity." Daniel folded his arms and looked across the room at Noah helping Ellie stack chairs that were too big for her. "I only know what struggle teaches," he said. Victoria looked at him. "That may be more valuable than any MBA in the world." Daniel smiled softly. "Maybe, but I'd still rather have a nap." She laughed, and so did he. And in that simple moment, after months of hardship, the weight in his chest finally felt lighter. Not because life had become easy, but because it had become hopeful again. Life lesson: never judge a person by their clothes, their job, or the vehicle they drive. Some of the strongest, wisest, most valuable people carry their greatness quietly. Emotional question for viewers: if life pushed you to the breaking point, would you still choose kindness over bitterness? Call to action: if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories like this.